Several big articles broke recently talking about levothyroxine, prescription medication, and bone density, specifically the bone density loss. Let me read this. This is from Newsweek. Medication prescribed to 23 million Americans may cause bone loss. A drug called levothyroxine, the second most commonly prescribed medication among older U.S. adults, has been linked to a higher risk of bone loss in a new study. Levothyroxine is prescribed to treat hypothyroidism, an underactive thyroid, in approximately 23 million Americans, or 7% of the U.S. population, under various brand names, including Synthroid. But scientists have found that the drug may put older adults at risk of losing bone mass, a risk factor for bone disease, osteoporosis. Quote, our study suggests that even when following current guidelines, levothyroxine use appears to be associated with greater bone loss in older adults, unquote. Hypothyroidism is a common condition whereby the thyroid gland does not produce enough of the hormone thyroxine, leading to fatigue, weight gain, hair loss, and other symptoms. While hypothyroidism can lead to serious and potentially fatal complications without treatment, it is possible to have too much thyroid hormone, a condition called hyperthyroidism, which can lead to palpitations, high blood pressure, shakiness, anxiety, weight loss, and an increased risk of bone fractures. Let's get into the study here. In this study, due to be presented at an annual meeting of the Radiology Society of North America, which has already happened at this point, a team of radiologists and endocrinologists specializing in X-rays and hormones, respectively, investigated the relationship between levothyroxine and bone loss over time. They used data from the Baltimore longitudinal study of aging. Of the study's subjects, 81 of them took levothyroxine and had normal thyroid hormone levels. 364 did not take the thyroid medication. After an average of 6 years, the adults taking levothyroxine were more likely to have lost more bone mass and bone density compared to those not taking thyroid medications. All right, so we're going to stop there. This is a whole lot of reading. What is going on here? Is there reason to think that levothyroxine is causing people to lose their bone mass?
I think it's being looked at a little more closely because excess thyroid hormone in general can increase bone turnover, therefore lead to decreases in bone density, etc. Essentially, when bone turnover increases and outpaces formation of bone, then you can run into these issues.
You're taking more out than you're putting in.
Yes, exactly.
Okay, and you're saying that thyroid levels are linked to bone density.
Yes.
Okay, so this isn't just
they're
like
physiologically there's interplay regardless of the source of the thyroid hormone. So whether it's endogenous or exogenous via medication, there's strong interplay between how thyroid function works and bone and all of that.
So am I understanding correctly that what they're suggesting is that perhaps a lot of people are taking this medication that don't need to be, and that's what's leading to them having a greater bone loss?
So thyroid, when you start on levothyroxine, and you're talking to your doctor about it, of course, blood levels are involved, but there's also a factor of symptoms. So it just, in my opinion, it's a feel medication in the sense of I'm feeling this way. So maybe if I take this, it's related to my symptoms, my blood works, it matches up. So there's just more of a potential for there to be an aggressive posture, just a potential for it. It opens the door to it because it's a feel medication. Not a lot of people walk in and say, hey, doc, I really want you to check my blood sugar and my cholesterol today because I'm feeling a little off. But they do walk in and say, hey, I've been feeling really tired lately. Let's check so it just opens up, trouble losing weight, all those things. It opens the door to aggressive treatment. And what they found in particular was that levels were even more pronounced when the free thyroxine, when the actual thyroid level, not just the TSH, when the free T4 level was higher, they found a greater or more significant association with decrease in bone density.
Okay, so you're saying the people that had, whether it was a greater response to the medication or the medication was go ahead,
potentially initiated a little more aggressively or dosed up a little more aggressively. It just opened the thyroid itself, I think, opens up the door to that type of treatment. And then they notice that if it is being done, well, I'll say aggressively in the sense of what dose they're on, that there was a greater association. So I think at the base level, it does allow for some further digging into reevaluating maybe some doses that people are on.
Okay. Is this one of those medications that people start on it and they're just on it perpetually, or is this something that you get on it for a while and then you would come off of?
Usually it's a long-term medication.
Okay. Because if your thyroid isn't functioning, it's not like it's just going to come back necessarily.
Right.
Okay. All right.
But
Interesting.
I also think it's just important not, because a lot of the headlines are clicks, that whole thing that we always talk about, but to make sure that it's not, you're 70 years old and your bone density was poor on the last DEXA scan you had, and you're on thyroid, so you're going in and you want off this. And so again, it's really how aggressive is the treatment, look into the dose. If it's something you're already dealing with, especially if you're postmenopausal, because remember this study was looking at 65 and older. That's going to be a critical point here too. It's just something to reevaluate. It's not that this medication is causing it per se. It just potentially can be the doses. Because ultimately, this term can get a little, it's synthetic. Mm-hmm. And so whether you're using the synthetic one or not, it's still a bioidentical product in the sense that what's being made is not mimicking or activating the receptors in the same way. It's the same molecules in the body. Yes. So you're kind of supplementing that level. You're supplementing this hormone. So this is not inherently bad by any means. Many people need it. Yeah. It's just, to me, about because it's such a feel potentially kind of therapeutic situation, that maybe a lower dose, if you're especially postmenopausal, if you're aging, if you have other risk factors for bone osteoporosis, osteopenia, to look at the dosing. So
when you say feel, what you mean is people come into the doctor and they say, I'm gaining weight, I have low energy. The doctor says, you're the right age. Let's check out your thyroid. Maybe try this medication. Is that what you're talking about? Yeah. I'm in no way saying that there's just, this thyroid craze where everybody's in these doctors. No, I'm just saying that when you add feel into something, you can, with a range, there's a blood work of range that it opens the door to more aggressive initiation and acceleration. The art of medicine. Mm-hmm. Got it. And I want to make sure, again, the headline is, this is very concerning. It makes it sound like this medication has this unknown side effect that they're just discovering, that, oh my gosh, it's destroying people's bone density. That's not the case at all. It is that functionally it's doing what it's supposed to do. It's just that in some people it's doing it too well, or some people who don't need it perhaps, or need as much of it, are on it. And this is the natural endpoint for those people. Yes, because again, they're looking at over 65. So along with that comes higher likelihood that you're sedentary. Mm-hmm. So obviously no weight-bearing exercise and decreased activity is going to decrease bone density over time. It's also going to be dealing with the situation where women are postmenopausal. Estrogen drop is going to decrease bone density. Men are experiencing a gradual testosterone decline. Yep. So there are additional factors where if you're at 45 or 50, that level is functioning just fine. You're feeling a little better. Your blood work's reflecting. But now maybe instead of being on the higher end of the range, maybe there's a reason, if you've got these other risk factors, maybe be on the lower end of the range. So not a freak out 911 headline. Not a bad drug, not a bad thing to be on, by no means. It
beats the alternative of potentially not treating hypothyroidism.
Yes. Makes sense. For folks that are dealing with osteoporosis or osteopenia, we've talked about this before. Dante, what is the number one thing that people can do to help improve their bone density?
They can absolutely exercise, especially resistance training.
What? Not take tons and tons of supplements or gain new drugs?
Right. I mean, hey, there's a place for it all. But yes, the surefire way to begin to improve your, bone structure would be to continue to or start participating in resistance, muscle strengthening, bone strengthening exercise. So you got to put a little weight on usually.
Love it. So the takeaways for folks that are hearing this, whether you're on levothyroxine or you've heard it mentioned from your doctor, is just make sure that the levels are realistic, that you're talking to the doctor and keeping up with symptoms and all those sorts of things, having your bone density checked, and then everyone should be doing some sort of resistance training to help improve their bone density as well as muscle mass and all the other things it's great for.
Calcium, vitamin D, and especially if you do have osteoporosis, and then obviously not smoking, making good choices with respect to diet as well.
Love it.
Just one other thing quickly.
Yeah.
I think too, because it's Synthroid is in the article and just in, we're compounding, more alternative health. A lot of people would say, well, see, Synthroid is bad. But if you're taking the natural, the armor thyroids, the desiccated thyroids, we're dealing with the same exact issue. Again, I know that Synthroid is synthetic, but it's ultimately levothyroxine. When you take the natural one, it's a natural source of levothyroxine. So this absolutely is not an indictment on Synthroid and a pro armor natural. I'm not discussing that any further in terms of what benefits are of each. I'm just saying, don't view this as, we'll see, I'm on armor, so I don't have to worry about this, or that's why armor's a better option. Not at all.
It has nothing to do with that.
In this issue, not at all.
Got it. Very cool. I love bringing clarity to these sorts of headlines because people get all worked up about this. And honestly, the media doesn't do a great job because I don't think most of the journalists understand the differences. This is why this kind of conversation is so helpful, making sure that the information's there, but people aren't having an immediate knee-jerk response to a headline. Very, very good. Thank you, guys.